Hi, I'm Jeff and welcome to A Million Movies. And did you know that one of the most popular songs from Bye Birdie doesn't even appear in the stage version of the show? The title song that Ann-Margret sings at the start and the end of the movie was written just for the film version of the musical. So if you show up to your local high school's production of Bye Birdie, the only one who will be singing that particular song will be you, if you're the type who likes to sing to themselves, which is something I do quite often. Anyway, that was the first of 11 facts I'm going to cover today about the 1963 musical Bye Birdie, so stick around. How that opening and closing came to be is an interesting little factoid itself. It seems that director George Sidney was so impressed with Ann-Margret that when the film was finished, he went back to Columbia's executives and he suggested that the movie would be better if there was a special song for her to sing to kick off and to close the movie.
Mr. Sidney had such faith in his idea and me that he paid for it himself because Columbia did not want to do it.
So Sidney rented a studio and hired a crew on his own. He got the composers to write another song, and 6 months after they'd already finished shooting the rest of the movie, they filmed this number. The extra scene cost Sidney $60,000. But, don't worry about him. After the movie took off and Ann-Margret became this huge sensation, Columbia wrote him a check to cover the costs. When production started on Bye Birdie, Dick Van Dyke was already familiar to television and theater audiences, but Bye Birdie was his first feature film role. Both him and Paul Lynde had appeared in the original Broadway production, and reportedly were not happy with the way the movie version turned out. They felt that the focus was too much on Ann-Margret's role as Kim McAfee. In his autobiography, Dick Van Dyke said he knew there were going to be changes that made Ann-Margret's role more prominent. His biggest clue came when he walked on the set one day and saw Ann-Margret sitting in director George Sidney's lap. Alright, that's 2 facts in a row about George Sidney and his fascination with Ann-Margret. Evidently he was either really impressed with her talent, or maybe he was smitten by her, or possibly both. Whatever it was, over the next 3 years he cast her in 2 more of his movies, The Swinger and one of my favorites, Viva Las Vegas. Another role that George Sidney made bigger for the movie was the part of Kim's boyfriend Hugo Peabody, played by Bobby Rydell. In the original show, Hugo's role is pretty small, but George Sidney wanted to add in another cast member who would help bring the teenagers into the theater, so he cast Bobby in the role. Bobby Rydell was already a well-known pop singer at the time, who had hits including Wild One and Volare, and he was pleased with the added screen time, saying that every day that he came on the set, his script just got longer and longer, and he kept getting added into more and more of the musical numbers. In addition to helping his young stars, director George Sidney had an interest in cartoons, and when 2 animation directors he worked with at MGM were let go when MGM closed their animation studio in 1957, Sidney helped the animators get a deal with Screen Gems to open their own television animation studio. Those 2 animators were William Hanna and Joseph Barbera, and the company they created was, appropriately, HannaBarbera, where they would go on to create the Flintstones, Yogi Bear, the Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, and dozens of other much-loved shows. To thank Sidney for his help in setting up their studio, they gave him stock in the company. So it's not a huge surprise that Hanna-Barbera characters can be found throughout Bye Birdie, including a Yogi Bear album during the telephone hour number. Fred Flintstone, Barney Rubble, and Yogi Bear figures are all found in Kim's bedroom, and Kim's brother is seen wearing Huckleberry Hound pajamas during the kids' number.
I don't want your respect.
Shortly after Bye Birdie was completed, Ann-Margret even made an appearance on the Flintstones, playing a prehistoric version of herself named Ann-Margret. Now, the plot of Bye Birdie was, of course, inspired by the real-life event of Elvis Presley going into the Army in 1958. Originally, the Elvis-inspired character's name was going to be something similar to Elvis's own name, but the show writers weren't landing on a name they liked. They were much more interested in another singer from Sun Records who had had a couple of big hits starting in the late 50s, Conway Twitty. Conway Twitty quickly became Conrad Birdie, and the writers knew they had a name they could use. And a little bit of typecasting. The show's producers reached out to both Elvis and Conway Twitty about possibly playing the role of Conrad Birdie. Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, didn't want Elvis doing a role that made fun of himself, and Conway wanted to focus more on his recording career instead of getting into theater or movies. So the role went to comic and singer Dick Gautier on Broadway, and Jesse Pearson played the role in the film version.
I got a lot of living to do.
Another casting choice that fell through was Rita Moreno for the part of Rosie. Rita was offered the role, but she turned it down. At the time, she was much more interested in breaking away from playing only Hispanic characters like Rosie. Interestingly, if Rita Moreno had taken the role, it would have been the second time she played a role in a movie that had originally been played by Chita Rivera on Broadway. Chita was the original Anita in West Side Story, and she also originated the role of Rosie in Bye Bye Birdie. And one final casting fast fact, Maureen Stapleton played Dick Van Dyke's mother in Bye Bye Birdie, even though in real life, she's only 6 months older than Dick Van Dyke.
Goodbye, Rosie. Goodbye, May. Call me Mrs. Peterson. Wear your rubbers.
While most of the production was done at Columbia, one key scene was shot on the backlot at Universal Studios, and they used a set I'm pretty sure you've seen before. Take a look at the scene where Conrad gets the key to the city and then sings his song Honestly Sincere, causing nearly all the women, including the mayor's wife, to faint.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah!
22 years after the scene was filmed, the same set would be used again as Hill Valley's Courthouse Square in Back to the Future. The set isn't the only thing that would become famous in this scene. They aren't credited, but there are some famous faces in the crowd who were hired on as extras, including Kim Darby, who would go on to star with John Wayne in True Grit, Melinda Marks, the daughter of Groucho Marx, Linda Henning, who played Betty Jo Bradley on Petticoat Junction, Elaine Joyce, who was a frequent guest on TV game shows and appeared in dozens of movies and TV shows, and Melody Patterson, who played Wrangler Jane on F Troop. And that brings us to the end of our list of facts about Bye Bye Birdie. If you have another piece of trivia about this great musical that I missed, please share it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please think about subscribing. I upload a new video every Monday morning, and if you subscribe, you'll get a little alert when each of the new videos goes live. And finally, thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you again here soon on A Million Movies.